If you want to know how to make a lot of money from your garage, you will love today's episode. Lauren's still here and welcome back to High Intensity Business. You one-stop shop for growing your hit business and fueling your passion for high intensity training. Today, we are welcoming back $1 Million Trainer Pete Cerqua. Pete, welcome back. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Lawrence. I'm excited about today's episode. We're going to talk about making a lot of money with not a lot of investment.
Yes, this is very interesting to me, as I know it's quite good, quite timely, because I know a few people are interested in building garage-based personal training facilities, and we know some that are obviously doing that and having success. So let's kick this one off. I understand that currently you're working with a few people who are making a fortune out of their homes, or their garage gyms, but they're not just any garage gyms. So what are we talking about here?
It's absolutely true. I'm working with 3 individuals currently. I have more in the queue, and I have to tell you, this may be the ultimate hit business model. Yeah, when we stack it up next to any of the other business models, this has got it's got all the key factors, right? Low startup cost. So you could whip out a credit card and get this thing underway very quickly. Low overhead monthly. So it takes the pressure off, and high profit. Those are the 3 variables that make a successful business. So I'm excited to talk about this.
So what's the difference between a hit garage gym versus a regular garage gym?
There's a couple of basic differences. You're going to see a hit studio is going to be climate controlled, of course, because we like that. We want to make sure the temperature is exactly hit trainers like 65 to 68 degrees, or sometimes a little bit cooler.
Your facilities all climate control, by the way. You know, your previous.
Right. We spend good money on, which is actually very, very difficult to do. In New York City, a typical large building will have heat and air conditioning, free of charge, by the way. And they control the temperature. So they may not turn the air conditioning on until May of that year. And you will have already had 3 or 4 weeks of hot weather. So I had to have individual mini splits put in my space, which was an incredible expense, to temperature control my space. So yeah, it's a big deal. But back to the garage gym, a hit studio in a garage, climate controlled, separate entrance, if possible. Usually, it's going to be a more upscale environment. And what do I mean by this? A regular garage gym, and you're going to see a lot of these, especially on Instagram, it's just going to be a typical rubber floor. You're going to see a power rack. You're going to see a barbell with some bumper plates. You might see a little bit of equipment like, have you ever seen those leg extension, leg curl combos that you can get on Amazon, the plate loaded ones for a couple $100? You might see a belt squat, which is also a very inexpensive piece. I mean, you'll see a bunch of accessories that you can get for your power rack. Roll bars, stuff like that. That's what you're going to see in a regular garage gym. That's great. That's great for your own personal workouts and for the guys that are putting those together and want to do their own thing. It's not great for a high intensity studio that wants to deliver exceptional customer service and make a lot of money. So there's a big difference there.
Yeah, because when you describe that, I'm also picturing the brick walls, which may or may not be suitable. And it's more like a hobbyist, facility of someone who's quite skilled, quite knowledgeable, knows how to train themselves. Maybe they're training a few clients on the side, but that's very removed from what you're describing here, or about to describe, isn't it?
It is very, very different. As a matter of fact, if it wasn't for the word garage, then, that's where the similarities end right there. So it goes into different paths.
Garage. We're going to be playing that along.
We may need an interpreter.
Okay, what's next?
So these hit garage studios, I'm often asked this when somebody calls me up and talks about my coaching and says, hey, if I open up at home, is this going to be as good as, can it compete with a commercial a commercial studio, or is it really, just a wasted step? And should I rent space in a shopping center or something like that? Well, here's the simple answer. A hit garage studio can surpass a commercial studio space. It can do the same exact volume. So there's no limitations there, but you're removing the overhead and the startup costs quite a bit. You're really lowering those numbers. And that's what is going to make or break a business, especially in the first year. So, and I've got these clients that I'm going to tell you about in a few minutes. Every one of them have asked me the same question. Hey, listen, this is just good temporarily, but then should I go out and rent space? Why? You're doing better with no pressure, no overhead. If you lost 50% of your clients next week for some weird reason, you're still profitable. So the answer is, yeah, you can compete with commercial studios. And in fact, it's a much better situation if you can get into this.
Yeah. This is interesting. So, I mean, this is a conversation I've had with some friends recently where they kind of joke around saying, hey, you know what? We've built these really quite successful high intensity training businesses on commercial leases, but actually we all just want our own garage gyms. Right? And I know one person who is doing that. And it's just funny because it's like, I feel like this is very much each to their own type of thing. It depends what your vision is, what your goal is, right? Some people want the stress and the additional work that might go into a commercial facility and the scalability that comes with that, because that's going to push them toward what their vision is. Whereas there are probably a lot of people listening to the show who are like, I kind of actually would just like a really awesome garage operation. Maybe they're retiring and they just want like a side hustle. Maybe they don't want to create this huge, big business. I know you're going to go into numbers more specifically in more detail in a moment. But maybe they're quite happy with doing, 100 workouts a week themselves in their garage gym, right? And earning a really good living and not scaling beyond that. And that's totally fine. So I feel it's a very personal choice. So would it be timely now to just talk more about the figures that you see with this type of model versus other options?
But the figures are right in line with anything you've ever heard of. They're going to be no different. There's no surprises here. I've got one guy who's doing over 100 sessions a week, right out of his garage. It's a beautifully set up. We upgraded it a bit, but that's it, right from home. So there's no overhead. There's no additional overhead, I should say. 100 sessions a week at competitive rates, which is very important. It's not a discounted rate. It's the same rate he would be charging if he rented a commercial space. That is an incredible amount of money. You're talking about $250,000 per year going right into his pocket, literally. And the number scaled down from there. That's the highest example I have. But think about the trainer, and this is quite common. Trainers that are doing 20 to 40 sessions per week. And there's a lot of them out there that we are coaching and that we're trying to help along and get them to the 60 session range, which is where they want to be. Well, if you're at 20 to 40 sessions and you have no overhead and a wonderful facility and your commute is 5 feet, you're already profitable. You're doing much better. And that shows in your business. Your body language will show that you don't have that stress. You'll do better.
Yeah. And maybe this is obvious, but there is clearly some limitations. We should talk about that too, about a garage gym, right? Like if you want to do 150, 200 sessions, you maybe want a couple trainers, you're going to need a very big garage. And maybe there comes a point where actually having a commercial lease or a commercial unit is a better, in alignment with your bigger goals, right? You really want to build a bigger business.
Possibly. And we were splitting hairs there. And I do have one client that I'm talking to about, he's really pushing me towards the commercial space and I'm holding him back. And
right.
Let me tell you why. Let me break it down. So the average 2-car garage is approximately 400 square feet, give or take 50. Okay. And it's 400 square feet is 8 pieces of Minix comfortably with an aisleway, a sitting area, And I say medics, I use medics as an example because it's the largest pieces of equipment, right? So you can get 8 pieces in there, which is, that's a great circuit. You can have a couple pieces, imagine. You probably get 10 pieces of an imagine in there, right? So, you've got a lot of options now. Let's think about 8 pieces of equipment in 400 square feet. Could you theoretically hire a trainer, and now there's 2 of you working through there, banging out, 40 sessions a day, 20 each? Yes. The answer is yes. You could easily do that. So now let's take that scenario and let's go rent 1,000 square feet.
Could you really do that? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm just in that small space. Is that I don't know, we're not going to do the math right now, but I'm assuming you thought that through in terms of like, you could actually do that kind of volume with just 2 trainers a day.
Easily. The first studio that I set up had 7 pieces of equipment. And it was a large space in that it was about 11 or 1,200 square feet. But I had a lot of the space devoted towards waiting area, office, bathroom, stuff like that, and the amenities. The reason being is I wanted a tight workout space because I wanted to be on the low back exercise with my client, and I wanted to be able to reach back and start setting up my leg press without taking my eyes off my client. I didn't want the equipment 40 yards apart. That didn't serve me well. I wanted to really move through sessions without looking like I was rushing. So I needed the equipment in close proximity in a specific order, and I needed my sets organized a certain way. If you follow that format, as soon as I'm off the lower back and I'm onto the leg press, the next trainer walks in, starts on the lower back. I'll be off the leg press in 90 seconds and onto the next machine. We can work boom, 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 boom. I look up 4, 5, 6 trainers working out of a small space.
Okay. All right. So let me see. By the way, for all those listening, Pete does an amazing job with the preparation for these podcasts that I very much appreciate to make sure that we're really thorough in the topic that we're discussing. All right. So where are we now? We're talking about, okay, so this is the big question, isn't it? Why is a HIT garage studio the most successful business model in your opinion?
I had the great fortune to train and work with many wonderful and successful people, literal billionaires in my studio in New York City. And knowing these people for many years, I got some really amazing advice, and I heard some great stories on their success. One gentleman in particular was the owner of the building that my studio was in. As a matter of fact, he solicited me in my previous studio and said, Pete, I've got an awesome space for you. If you want to upgrade, it's going to have an outdoor deck. It's going to have like all these great features. I really love your workouts. I would love you to come over to my building. It was just 2 blocks away. It's a $140 million building. He owned it, and it was not his only building. And while we were training there, he told me, he said, let me give you the best business advice that I ever received. I want to pass it on to you. If you can ever be your own landlord, that is the ultimate business model. And he had his real estate office in the same building as my studio that he owned. So his real estate office, where he rented properties and purchased properties, was paying rent to his corporation, which owned the building that he owned. He also, and this is even more fascinating, he owned a building downtown, not too far away. It was a 25-story building. It was actually kind of a famous building because it had a famous restaurant on the first floor. It turns out, and I didn't know this until later, he owned the restaurant. And this is a famous New York City restaurant that was around for 25 years. So his restaurant is paying rent to himself. He owned that building as well, and had an office in there. So if you could be your own landlord, it's the ultimate business model. Now, I don't have $140 million to go and purchase a building, regardless of what you guys think, but you can own your own home, right? So if your business is operating out of your home, you are your own landlord. So you're following this gentleman's business model and his advice. And I think it was absolutely phenomenal. So I took that advice to heart. I am passing on that advice. If you can be your own landlord, that's great. Now, to take it to the next step, if you keep telling me and pushing me, I want to get a commercial space, great. Go out and look at purchasing a building. And it doesn't have to be a major building. It could still be well within your budget. And if you could be your own landlord within that building and have your studio there and pay yourself rent and have other tenants, that would be a really savvy move. That would be brilliant. Don't just go out and rent to spend money on rent. It doesn't make you more money.
Mm. Yeah, I'm trying to think of any of our colleagues who are in the building or at least public about that. I can't think of any off the top of my head. But I guess some people might be thinking, well, I have my home and I don't have a garage or a space for a gym, but I still want to do it. What do you say to those people? Build a shed.
You know what? It's been done. I know a lady who did build a shed for a yoga studio that she put together, because we did talk about an exhaust options. I can't do it in my spare room. I don't want people walking through my kitchen. Yeah, understood. Basement options are wonderful if you have a separate entrance for the basement, and a lot of people don't. So that means they have to walk through the front door and walk down the hall and then go downstairs. And, there's also code violations there. If there's not an egress or an emergency exit in case of fire, you can get in a lot of trouble. But if your home has a separate entrance and a window and an egress and it conforms to the code, wow. Awesome combination. And you can make a separate, walkway around the back to go to it. And
there's a lot of people to find building.
So before I go out and get the commercial space, I would go shopping for a different home.
Right.
In neighborhood. It had the features that I wanted, or a little more land, or a separate entrance, something.
Got it. You're making me think of do you say shed? What do Americans say? Cabin? Or is it? Yeah, do you say shed? Yeah, okay. So Glenn Walker, who's in the community, who's British, he has a lovely home and a nice big garden, and he built, or yard, as you'd say. I've never had so many silly language jokes on one podcast. And he built a really nice cabin, shed. I guess it's more like a cabin because it's quite large. But his studio, and he's working on growing that, and it's actually perfect. He'll love this because it's very much what he's done with his business, right? So that's another option, isn't it? If you haven't got a garage, but you've got enough space in your yard, you can perhaps build something out there as well as another option. Okay, so where are we going to next? Anything more you wanted to say on that, or should we move on to talk about some examples?
I'm going to give you some great examples. And before I do, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the shed option. If people have, the space or the land to build something, these metal buildings that are 400 to 600 square feet are very inexpensive. You can get them at Home Depot. You can get them online. And they're very sturdy buildings. They can have garage doors or just a regular door. And you're talking about anywhere from $8,000 to $16,000 for a really solid building on concrete. They are, and if you finance that option, which is the smart move, don't pay cash for it, get the tax deductions, right? If you finance that over 120 months, we're talking about pennies. Now compare that price to rent. You're talking about $80, $90, $100 a month or less for a shed, or for a 2-car or 3-car garage that you're converting into a gym or a studio, versus $1,500, $3,000, $4,000 a month in a commercial space, plus the real estate taxes and the electric bill and all this other stuff.
We're still going to have an electric bill, Pete.
They're going to have an electric bill, but it's going to be a lot less.
How so?
Commercial space has commercial rates.
We just inflate it, right? Yeah, commercial rates. Yeah,
it's embarrassing. As a matter of fact, I was talking to a friend of ours yesterday who was telling me, and about this, was telling me about their commercial gym cable bill at $700 a month.
Right. Yeah.
Internet is internet, isn't it? But in a commercial space, they gouge you. They come after you and they charge you ridiculous numbers.
Today's episode is sponsored by Imagine Strength, the game changer in safe, simple, and effective high-intensity training machines. When it comes to HIIT, Imagine Strength is your go-to for intelligently designed, efficient, and affordable equipment. Their team is passionate about HIIT, and it shows in every piece they craft. So why are Imagine Strength the right choice? Number one, they tailor-make their equipment for HIIT studios. Number two, they provide cost-effective solutions for your business. And number three, they are committed to ongoing innovation and refinement. Ready to take your HIIT business to the next level? Visit imaginestrength.com to discuss your needs and find the perfect gear for your studio. Join the HIIT revolution of Imagine Strength and transform your workout experience today.
Yeah. There are some exceptions to this, obviously. Like I know one individual who pays less than $2,000 a month in rent, and they're making upwards of $35,000, $40,000 a month. So in that instance, having a commercial space isn't such a problem, right? They're still doing really well.
No, I made my whole career was based on a commercial space. So I have nothing bad to say about it, but if I could have had the same space in the same location without the expense, or paid myself and I was my own landlord, it would have been that much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair enough. Okay, cool. All right. So let's, and you made me think of, I wrote down here, Amazon tiny houses. Right. Yeah. But you made me think of that because you can, last thing on top of my head, you could spend like $50,000, $60,000 on one of these Amazon houses where it's like you order it and then it's like, what you call it? Like, it comes out of the pack and you just kind of build it. I don't know. But anyway, that's probably a little bit extreme, and perhaps not a good fit for what we're talking about. But the idea of, what do you call it? Flat pack. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like flat pack building of a facility. It's something I hadn't really thought of till you said.
Well, let's break that one down real quick. If it's a structure that's that size, you get to finance those over 30 years. So the payment comes out to be the same or less, and it's a bigger space. So it depends on
you also got to be mindful of bathroom facilities and potentially things like that, having a small separate office space perhaps, but maybe this can all be baked into the structure. I don't know. I'm just exploring all options with you right now, I suppose.
But either way, if you're building a space on your property, even if you throw a bathroom in there, and it's pennies. It's pennies is when you break it. The monthly payment is going to be nothing.
In fact, and the more I think about this, the more people I know actually have this kind of thing going. They've got it attached to their home or on their land. Yeah, I can see how it can be very appealing. But let's talk about some of the examples of the successful HIIT garage studios that you've been working with.
I've got 3 wonderful real-time examples of people that I'm either currently working with or just recently worked with. And to compare these 3 is really going to give you a great picture. So HIIT Garage Studio number 1 is my friend Marc in Australia. I mention Australia only because there are no geographical limitations to putting one of these together. It's your home, wherever your home is. The fact that you own a home or you have a mortgage means that you probably have a good clientele base or a client base in the area of other homeowners. So that'll tell you something. Now, Marc's studio is in a 2-car size garage. As a matter of fact, all 3 of these examples are in 2-car garage size buildings. So we're looking at 400 to 500 square feet each. Marc's equipment selection was not used Nautilus Nitro, which depending on your market. So in Australia, that was pretty easy for him to get. He could really shop around and find, one of my advice was, one of my pieces of advice was try to get all matching pieces of equipment. So whatever color scheme you go with, which the most typical piece of Nautilus Nitro is going to be a white frame and black pads. Try to get all of that. Don't get a red piece and a blue piece. Let's make it all look like it's cohesive. So he did. Now, he spent anywhere between $500 and $750 per machine used. He was able to clean them up and oil them up and get them in his garage and put them in a great order. Decor, painting the floor and the walls was pennies, didn't cost a lot of money. He did have to install a climate control package. And again, because of where he lives and the climate of his area, he doesn't have these very, very extreme ranges of temperature. He was able to do that very inexpensively. We're looking at well under $10,000 to open this facility and do session number 1. And it's probably more in the $5,000 range, which is, right in everybody's budget. So his investment got 1% return very quickly within 6 months. He got all his money back and he's profitable. You can't say that about a lot of other facilities. So, this is a great example of somebody starting up with a low budget. His studio is currently generating, he just broke the 50 session mark per week, 50 sessions per week. His rates are competitive. There's no discount here. And my job as his business coach is to get him to 80 sessions a week, which is our current plan. And we're going to do that within the next 6 months. I'd like to also point out in this situation, which is really good for people to hear about, Lawrence, is that Marc has currently a day job. He's got a job and his goal is to build up enough sessions out of his garage in his home so he can leave his day job. He is there right now and he is leaving his day job in the next few weeks. And that's where we're going to dial up his business a little bit more. So all those and
yeah, sorry. And obviously we won't reveal any details to keep it all very private, but he has a very demanding job, like very exhausting, and which should be quite inspiring for those listening who are thinking, I would really love to have my own garage gym and do the thing I'm passionate about and transform people's lives and make really good money. How do I make that transition? I've got this really, difficult, demanding career. How do I transition out from that? So it can be done, is what we're talking about here. So
it can be done. I will tell you, Marc has revealed to me that his commute to his job is 90 minutes each way.
Okay.
Well, that's 3 hours a day. He's picking up.
No wonder he's well.
So that's significant. Right now his commute in a few weeks is going to be 5 feet.
Yeah. And it's that temporary pain for like long-term, bliss is the right word because you're still going to, but just an ideal situation.
It is. And he's got a wife and young children, which means now there's more quality time with the family.
Yeah.
Right. They're right there on the other side of the door. You can
be careful with them boundaries though. That's the only thing, right?
Yeah. You definitely have to, it is a business, but what perks? Because there are going to be breaks throughout the day, like all businesses. Even when I was doing 25 sessions, there were plenty of breaks. And I can go sit down with my kid and, have lunch. Wow. How great is that? You can't do that when you're 90 minutes away. So there's a lot of great things to say about this business model. It's wonderful. I'm so happy for him. By the way, he spends $0 on marketing and advertising, which is how I built my multi-million-dollar business. And he has no software expenses. So again, he's spending little or no money and he's generating an excellent business, excellent income.
Awesome story. All right, moving on.
Hit garage studio number 2 is my friend Mo in Florida. Mo has done the most amazing thing in the world, which is he has broken through and doing over 100 sessions per week out of his home-based business. And that is in triple digits. You are an elite trainer if you're knocking out 100 a week, and he does it effortlessly. We've been working together for a little while now. He is a joy to work with because he's like a gifted athlete. You give a gifted athlete a little bit of advice and they just run with it. And that's Mo. He started out building a successful business out of his garage with basic equipment. He had things like a power rack and dumbbells. He had a belt squat, which I'm sure you all know what that is. Now, when I came on as his coach and we started talking about the success of his business, I said, to go from 50, 60, 70 sessions a week to 100 sessions a week is now about seconds. And what we have to do is you can't waste 40, 60, 80 seconds going over to a belt squat machine, loading up plates, hooking up the belt, having them step in it, getting it. It's like you literally can waste 2 to 3 minutes to bang out 100 sessions a week. You can't waste that time. So what we did was we got him 7 pieces of Imagine Strength equipment. We put it in a very specific order. The low back machine was right by the front door. And the last machine that he will typically use is by the exit. So we kind of work in a circle and just, and that's the way it's got to be. It's wonderful. And boom, he went from 70 to 100 in no time. Right, very quick. Like I want to say within 6 weeks. So that's a lot of money. He is also competitively, he has competitive rates. And I say competitive to the average trainer in the area. So he's not discounting. We're talking about the $60, $65 range for a session, all of these trainers. And do the math, times 100 sessions a week. Holy cow, 6, 7 grand in your pocket every week, every Friday. That's good money.
I think we just have to do a quick explanation for anyone who's tuning in new, who's thinking, what? 1 hour personal training session? How can you do that? So what we explore in this podcast, obviously a high intensity training business. So the model is typically 30-minute sessions, give or take, once or twice a week, right? With using a high degree of effort so that frequency is still really productive. I think it's important to say that in case people are tuning in for the first time. And if you're skeptical about any of that, then you could just go to highintensitybusiness.com and look at some of the other podcasts where we actually dig into a lot of the science around why this training is so effective. And why it's basically the most exciting and profitable business concept in fitness. And there's so much more opportunity and so many people out there who could transition what they're doing, or just simply having an understanding. If they've got nothing in play, they can now find a fitness business that's actually really viable for them. Just want to make that clear in case people are tuning in for the first time.
Thank you for pointing that out. The 30-minute business model is the ultimate key to this business, no matter which way you go with it. A quick review of Mo's studio in Florida and his garage gym. He started out with the basic equipment. We built that up to 50, 60, 70 sessions. His initial investment was very inexpensive. Again, probably in the $5,000 range to put some dumbbells. And he actually got a few pieces of used selectorized machines to go along with his, he built this piece by piece, developed an incredible business. Then he made a significant investment, the 7 brand new Imagine Strength machines that transformed his studio into the next level and gave him even more money. Paid for itself very quickly, but it was a big investment.
Why the lower back by the front door? Curious. Is that using the 20?
I always start 150,000 sessions in my career. I started everybody with the lower back every time. I've got a method to my madness. It's very successful. It made me a lot of money and the clients loved it. So
we need to do some future podcasts where you just literally break down like what was exactly that method on the lower back in terms of the protocol, but also the coaching, the whole like Pete Cerqua way. And we've talked about doing some videos too, right? So we take that offline and plan that separate. But I think, I know people will be interested in learning more about that. Because that's the secret sauce, isn't it? That's how you get the flow going. That's how you provide the customer service, the great customer experience, etc. Okay, so where are we? We're on number 3 now, are we, Mike?
Yes, Mike. Hit Garage Studio number 3. My friend Mike in Connecticut. Mike's got a unique story. Mike was a massage therapist in Connecticut. Heard about my personal training in New York City. Drove 3 hours. It was 3 hours door to door to get to me, to come in and see what it was all about. And when I met Mike, I thought the plan was going to be, I'll teach him the skills and he'll go back to Connecticut and figure it out and start a business or do a couple of sessions up there. And he saw my studio and we hit it off right away. And he says, no, I want to work with you. I want to be here shoulder to shoulder. I want to do this. And I said, Mike, you got to be here at 7 o'clock in the morning. You're 3 hours away. He said, I'll be here by 6:30. And he was. And awesome. He's an awesome guy. He became a phenomenal trainer in no time. I mean, within the year, he was top level and banging on a lot of sessions at my studio. And then when I retired, he was one of the people I gave the business to. He then wanted to, got married and had some kids, and they live in Connecticut. And he, wanted to be closer to home. So he opened up a garage. Now, his studio is a little bit different. It's a detached garage. So a separate building, still a 2-car garage. So 400 to 500 square feet. But what he did was really amazing. Because he had a lot of success with me, he wanted to duplicate my studio in New York City. So he carpeted his garage. And he bought brand new black on black Medex like I had in my studio. He bought the same pieces that we would use. I think he's got 9 or 10 pieces. Really well laid out. Now Lawrence, I'm going to supply you with photos and video of each one of these examples so you can show everybody.
Oh yeah, people should definitely watch this on YouTube if they're listening to it, right? To enjoy all the to be able to see all the visuals of a lot of this, right?
And he's got an absolutely gorgeous studio. He put a mini split in there for temperature control. He's got a waiting area. He's got a separate entrance to the door. It is beautiful. And I told him I would come up there and work with you and bang out sessions with you any day of the week. I feel like going home in the studio. So why is this a good example? It's a significant difference to the other 2 examples. Mike spent a lot of money putting this together. This was no limiting budget. He dove right in. The construction, the carpeting, the mini split, the brand new Medex. It cost the money, but you know what? He's at 70 sessions a week. So the money came right back, right? Away from his family and life is good. And he can knock out 70 sessions in, I think he only works 3 or 4 days. So it's not a 5-day schedule. He'll knock out sessions, he'll knock out 20 in a day. He only needs 3 days.
Yeah, it's, obviously I can speak to the benefit of working from home. I mean, there are obviously some downsides, well, not downsides, but things you have to figure out. So, being connected with colleagues and other people outside of your home, you got to make time for that, whether that's going for lunch or, I guess if you're working with a trainer and you garage student, that can be okay. I can kind of meet that need. But there are just enormous advantages to it. Obviously, if you've got a young family like I have, being able to spend lots more time with them, being able to help out more, being able to, what was I going to say? Yeah, no, just having that flexibility is very helpful. Oh yeah, and obviously save a lot of money, as you've spoken about enough on this podcast. But I think it's then you just gonna be mindful of like having the right discipline in place so that you are focused. Because some people like to have the boundaries, right, where they have their work separate, and therefore it means that when they're at work, they're working. When they're at home, they're at home. But I think that's kind of like a mindset thing. If you could just make sure that you have those boundaries set up well at home, then you can still achieve that. So what's the moral of the story, Pete?
Moral of the story is anybody can do this. There's really no limit. I know I talk to people. I actually have a call today with a gentleman who's going to have his wife on the call. He wants to start coaching with me. He wants to open his own studio, and they're looking at commercial space. And my advice has already been keep the investment and the expenses as low as possible, whether it's a commercial space or right out of your home. It's really important to the success of the business. Get that pressure off you. In these garage studios, you can open these things up for $5,000, sometimes less, sometimes a tiny bit more, but it's a number that's not intimidating. It's not $50,000 or $100,000 or $300,000, right? It's $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, and you're in and you're going.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a better way to go if you can get into this situation. So I encourage people to explore these options. Keep the overhead and the initial startup expenses as low as you possibly can while you're building up those first 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 sessions. Then you've got the option. Okay, now you got this income coming in. Now you want to go get a commercial space, or you want to buy brand new equipment, or, upgrade. Great. Well, that's a great conversation to have. I love that. I love you. Put her into her position.
Yeah, that's interesting way of looking at it. Okay, makes a lot of sense. All right, Pete, thanks so much. I'm aware of time. I know you got many, many calls to get to. So if anyone's watching this and they are keen to learn more and perhaps would like your help to help them build their dream hit business or garage studio, what do they need to do?
You can easily find me through social media, but you can, anybody listening can reach out to Lawrence. Lawrence has a direct line to me and my coaching program, and he can give you details. Lawrence can give you details on this, and he can even set you up with a free consultation Zoom call with me, where we're going to talk about your vision. You're going to tell me all about your plans and what you want to do, and we'll have a chat. If I'm the right person to coach you and get you to the next level, I'm happy to do so.
Cool. Thank you, Pete. Yeah, so if anyone listening is interested, you can just email me, Lawrence@highintensitybusiness.com, and we'll make sure that's linked to on the blog post for this as well, if you can't remember how to spell all of that. And you just want to click the link. So that's highintensitybusiness.com. You can go to the blog, which will be available on all platforms because we're going to publish this on YouTube and on Instagram and places like that as well. Pete, thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure. This has been really interesting and different and a new direction that we haven't really explored much before. And I think there'll be more to discuss around this in terms of like the nuances of it going forward. So this is Lawrence with highintensitybusiness.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you very soon.
This episode is brought to you by Imagine Strength, your go-to for safe, simple, and effective high-intensity training equipment. Growing a successful high-intensity training business requires workout equipment that's not only high quality, but also intelligently designed to fit the unique needs of your studio. And that's where Imagine Strength comes in. Drawing on the wisdom of the legendary Arthur Jones, Imagine Strength has crafted a groundbreaking line of fitness equipment that's as affordable as it is efficient, giving your studio the upgrade it needs without breaking the bank. The team at Imagine Strength breathes HIIT. Their passion for high-intensity training shines through in their designs, which they've consistently refined and innovated for optimum effectiveness and user experience. From my personal experience at Rec, I can attest to the careful consideration and craftsmanship that goes into every single piece. My Imagine Strength workout was absolutely brutal, in a good way, of course. Now, what makes Imagine Strength truly stand out? They have innovative equipment tailored for the unique needs of HIIT studios, affordable and efficient designs, lowering the barriers to entry for a HIIT business, continuous innovation and refinement ensuring your studio stays ahead of the curve. Founder Jeff Turner and his team are dedicated to moving the HIIT industry forward and making strength training accessible to more people than ever before. Here's how you get started. Number 1, visit imaginestrength.com. Number 2, discuss your specific needs with the team. And number 3, select the equipment that will propel your business to the next level. Head to imaginestrength.com today and give your HIIT business the Imagine Strength edge. Be part of the HIIT revolution and see firsthand how their unique equipment can transform your studio's workout experience. Elevate your HIIT business with Imagine Strength.